Hey everybody, and welcome to Alan's Bonsai. Today I'm going to work on 4 Shohin Ilex Shillings. And today is the 29th of January, and we're in the middle of a little cold snap where it's going to get into the low to mid 40s for like 4 days in a row. And we've had some cold snaps earlier too. So that's perfect for shillings because they're a temperate plant that needs to go dormant, and they need to have work done, especially pruning the roots and repotting right about this time when it's still cold and they're still dormant, but they're just getting ready to come out of their dormancy. So as you can see, 2 of them are already in bonsai pots, and then 2 of them are in training pots. And I say pots in air quotes because they're actually just food containers, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the first thing I want to do is explain that all 4 of these guys, as you can see, are very similar in size. That's because they're all the same age. They were all taken as cuttings at the same time, removed from the cutting bed, planted in their respective pots. And I have about 30 of these. And I decided to put these 2 into bonsai pots immediately, and sometimes I do that. I know it's premature bonsai potting. If there was a law against premature bonsai potting, I'd be guilty. But sometimes I like to do that. It's not that big of a deal one way or the other for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trim these guys. Since they're already in the pots, I'm not going to repot them now. So I think I'm going to take the camera off the tripod without trying to make it look like there's an earthquake. And then grab this guy and just kind of take a look at him. And as you can see, there's a lot of branching that we're going to take off, but it has a nice form. It has decent nabari, and it has decent branching. So I'm going to put it down on the table, and the first thing is just to cut off all the excess that we know we're not going to need. And then I'm going to use this as the first main branch, and I'm going to use this one as the second main branch right here. And then I've got a nice back branch in the back here. It's a little heavy though, so I'm going to take quite a bit of that off because it's too heavy, and then shorten these guys. And then you notice we have 2 parallel branches. The first main branch, and there's another one right above it that's parallel. So I'm going to take him off, take this guy off, and then shorten this one here. And then the back branch also has a little bit of growth right here that I want to remove. I try to keep my trees nice and open and airy. So there we go. There's a good beginnings. Now it needs to be wired down. These 2 branches, the first and second main branch, need to be wired a little more horizontal. And so let's do that right now. And not quite sure how I should do that. Maybe I should put the camera back on the tripod and move the other 3. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn the camera off for now and get back to wiring. Okay, So I'm going to use the same piece of wire, which is pretty long, to bend both branches. So I'm going to start with the wire pretty much right in the middle and then wrap it a couple of times around and then bring it up. And if you want to wire a branch down, then the first run should be above the branch. If you want to wire a branch up, the first wrap of wire should be below the branch. And when I'm wiring, I'm not really trying to move the branch into place, I'm just putting the wire. And the same for this one. Bring it up and over. And I'm a wire saver, so we've got these wires sticking way out, but I'm just going to leave it like that. And then just bend this guy down, just very gently. Normally you want either your fingers or your thumbs at the place where you're wiring so you can feel if the branch is breaking. And that looks pretty good. Maybe I should have it in the frame. And then this guy here, same way. Have your thumb in the place where you're bending. Okay, that looks pretty good. And just to make it aesthetically pleasing, I'll bend the wires back like this so they don't look so crazy. Okay, so that's a nice little tree. Now it looks kind of weird because these leaves are huge, so I'm going to take them off too. I'm just going to pull them off. And I say huge, Ilex Shillings, that's about as large as the leaf gets. But they're still out of proportion for this little tree. And by removing the larger leaves, smaller ones will take its place. So there we go, there's the first one. Decent movement, decent taper, pretty decent nabari. So now let's go on to the next. I think I'll just leave the camera on the tripod. We'll take a look at this guy. And you see we have a scar right there from where it was cut back before. Also has pretty neat let's start over. Has pretty decent nabari. That's what I love about Shillings, is they make great nabari. So where is the front of this guy? A lot of times you don't want the scars to face you, but you can also sometimes accentuate the scar because, let's get it centered in the frame again. That is what they call uro. It's a scar that hasn't healed, and the Japanese term is uro. So, and also, even though this tree is in a bonsai pot and there's a definite front and a back, it doesn't have to remain that way. There may be another front that's hiding in plain sight. Maybe somewhere in here. But for now we're just going to use, I think I'm just going to use this as the front. So you notice we've got this branch here just shooting straight up. So that's a huge no-no. And we've got this branch coming right at us, so we're going to take that off. See, now that already changes the look of the tree. And there's a lot of growth here that's pretty thick. Like this guy here. And Shillings, or this one's doing what a lot of Shillings do, is shooting off shoots from the same place. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut this guy off. Maybe I need my... Well, I just cut it like this for now. And then I'm going to cut this guy way back here. Get that large leaf off of there again. And this will be my leader, so I'm going to cut all this stuff away. And where's my first main branch? You know, this one's in a perfect place, but it's growing pretty weird. So I think I'm going to shorten it even more. And then take these two guys off. And I don't think these cutters are going to be able to take this giant knob off. But that's coming off. And then we'll take it to right there. That's a little tall, this guy. You see, I want the growth to come out that way. So that's a pretty good whack. And no wiring needed on this one. Let me run real quick and get my concave cutters. Why I didn't bring them with, I just didn't think I would even need them. So turn the camera off and go get my concave cutters. Okay, so the concave cutters, we're going to take this whole thing off right here. And then also remove these little knobs that are in the front. Because we want this branch to elongate here, but we want the branching to come out here, not from the front. And I could probably use a little tiny bit of wire to give it more motion. You see how this is straight up? So let's do that. Let's just get a little tiny bit of wire. And wrap it around. And then, now I have a lot less excess on this guy. And then just bring it just into place, just about like that. So that gives us much nicer movement. And I realize that I cut these back pretty hard, but that's how I do things. Especially when they're young, in the early stages of a bonsai, cutting it back like this really ends up creating a much nicer tree. So that guy is going to be pretty cool. And you may notice that there's some cracks in the pot. The whole pot fell and it just cracked all to pieces. But I was able to find every piece and I just glued it all back together. So it's not a world-class pot. Whoop, put it back in the frame. It's actually just a basic, I think it's a basic Japanese pot. Speaking of pots, how am I doing on time? I've only got a minute left, so I'm going to end. I think I'm just going to end it right here and make a separate video out of the other two. So thanks for watching. Oh, there's nothing there.